When you're receiving an inbound load and you're inspecting it, what are you looking for? A couple things. First and foremost, one of the most important things is that your stems are all even. If they're not all even at the bottom, let's say that this is rubber band together and you've got one stem that's short, when that stem gets cut at the supermarket or at the wholesale house, every stem except this one that's up high is going to get cut. And when flowers don't get a fresh cut, they don't pull solution efficiently. They die quickly. So you want to make sure that the stems are even at the bottom. You want to make sure that your flowers, that the grading is well done. And when we talk about grading on pom-poms, we're talking about the how many blooms per stem. Do they have at least 4 to 5 blooms minimum per stem? That's the industry standard. And there's some variation, but for sure, if you get one of those stems that has 1 or 2 blooms, it's too skinny. So you want to look for bloom count, you want to look for stem strength, you want to make sure that the stem is strong enough to hold the flower head, regardless of what kind of flower it is. Always look at your foliage, make sure that it's not black or yellow. The foliage very often will show signs of damage or heat stress far before the flowers will show. And if it's a flower, a daisy-shaped flower, composite flower that has a clear eye and then outer ray petals, either a gerbera or sunflower, good examples, look right at the center of the flower and make sure that you're not seeing a lot of the anthers raised up and pollinated. Think about a calla or a anthurium, the spadix, that particular structure that is right in the middle, almost it's like a tongue. If it's hard and completely firm, it indicates that that flower is quite fresh. As it develops, as it matures, it will become fuzzier and fuzzier. Same thing here with the inside of your disc petals. As they mature, they will pollinate, and so your center will start to look fuzzy. So look to make sure that you're getting nice, tight centers on your flowers as well as the foliage. If product arrives with no foliage whatsoever, make sure that the stem is not gouged or damaged, because any kind of wounds on the stem tissue are perfect portals for air bubbles and bacteria right into the stem. And if it's a composite flower like as hydrangeas, make sure that there's no disease within the floret ball. You want to make sure the foliage is crisp and clean. And then when you're processing, of course, you want to make sure that whether you're going into a bucket or into a vase, no flowers or no foliage in the solution. You want to keep the solution low enough so that there's no bacteria pressure from foliage that falls into the water. When you look at roses, when you receive a bunch of roses, you want to look at roses, you want to make sure that the cut point is similar. One, that the cut point's correct. Cut point is the degree of readiness of the bloom. Too tight will never open, and too open, of course, is blown open. For instance, you would never want to get your lilies like at this cut stage. Even these roses, they're too open if this were a receiving stage. So what you want to do is look at your cut point, see, one, is it consistent within the bunch, and then is it consistent within the box? Because if you're processing incoming boxes of products, you know that whole box will be part of a sales display. And then look for excuse me. And then look closely at your roses to make sure that you don't have excessively torn petals, that they're not over peeled. You don't want to see a rose that is peeled within an inch of its life and it just looks unnatural. And why did they peel it? You don't want to receive product that comes in and it's naked stems. Why did the supplier remove all the foliage? What was wrong? What was on that foliage that they didn't want you to see? So you want to make sure that it looks normal, it's got foliage, the cut point is consistent. If there's any dark guard petals or damaged petals, they've been removed at the grower level. there's no disease inside the ball. You want to make sure that the foliage is fresh looking and that there's ample foliage on the stem. And in the case of lilies, you want to make sure that the bud count is similar. Lilies are sold either in 2 and 3s or 3 and 5s. That means that every stem in the bunch should have at least 2 buds, if not 3 buds. Or if it's a 5 to 8, every stem should have at least 5 buds, if not up all the way to 8 buds. So again, grading standards, generally there are standards that are either the customers have given to you if you're receiving product in a DC, a distribution center, or if you're a wholesaler. Usually that information is passed on through the buyer to the receiver so that they know this is what I expected, this is what I paid for. Remember, stem length is measured by money. The longer the stem in the flower world, the more expensive the stems are. So stem length, stem strength, degree of cut point, absence of disease, bloom count per stem, ample foliage, and the eye that is not pollinated out, a nice fresh flower.